Well, the Golden State Warriors have now lost 5 straight games in a row. I will repeat that one more time for effect. They've lost 5 games in a row. We're going to break down what happened in tonight's game. Is now the moment to start panicking? I don't know. But things didn't look good. Here's what I will say is before we start the show with this cold open, I'm still optimistic. I still believe, unlike what a lot of other people may or may not say, I still think there's talent on this team. We just need to see it. The minute distribution is a major problem. When Corey Joseph is getting in the game before Moses Moody, something ain't right. We're going to break it all down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I really hope you did not spend money to go to that game tonight because it was ugly. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. Maybe I'm ugly as well. You can follow me on Threads @DogWild. The Warriors dropped their 5th straight game, losing to an OKC Thunder team that they beat previously earlier this year in Oklahoma City. The score of that game was 141-139. Tonight, though, they lose 128-109 in a game that really was over by the middle of the third quarter. The Warriors went into the half still very much in this game. The game started abysmally. The Thunder outscored the Warriors 39-24. The only positive in the opening quarter was that Jonathan Kuminga started and he rewarded Steve Kerr for that decision. Jonathan Kuminga in the opening quarter of this game was 3 for 3 from the line, shot 1 3 and made it, had 3 rebounds, had 8 points. It led to his best game of the year by far. It sucks because they lost, but again, there are positives in this game. I will try to highlight those. Kuminga for this game for the night played 26 minutes, 40 seconds. Shot 8 for 13 from the field. Had 5 free throw attempts to lead the team there. Made 4 of those. So he shot 80% from the free throw line. Only shot 1 for 4 from 3. That's been a huge problem for him all year. I believe he's the second lowest three-point shooter on the team besides Andrew Wiggins. I'm not saying much. But Kuminga at least was a positive. 21 points for the night. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, did have 4 turnovers, but at least he didn't lead the team in that category. Andrew Wiggins did, and had a block. So that's one piece of bright news. Moses Moody, I thought, had a good game tonight, and which leads to what I mentioned in the cold open, though, which is that Corey Joseph came in the game before Moses Moody. Corey Joseph played 20 minutes and 27 seconds in tonight's game. Corey Joseph was 1 for 7 from the field. He was 1 for 6 from deep, meaning 6 of his 7 field goal attempts were threes. The 1 3 that he made, he banked it, and he looked damn surprised when he made that. So in other words, the one shot he makes, it was lucky. Had 2 turnovers in this game, scored 3 points. Why is Corey Joseph playing over Moses Moody? What's particularly egregious about the Corey Joseph minutes is that he wasn't the sole point guard out there. It's not like Steve Kerr was desperate for a ball handler. He had Brandon Podziemski out there playing with him. I believe there were times where Chris Paul was also out on the court with him. I was paying attention closely. Did not see a moment where Corey Joseph was out there without a second point guard. Now, why is that particularly an issue? Because when you're playing 2 point guards, you're giving up size. And when you give up size, you allow another team to shoot without any impediments, no obstacles. Okay, a 6'2" player with his hands up, not quite as effective as someone, say, 6'5", 6'6", with a 7 feet 1 inch wingspan like a Moses Moody. So So what does Oklahoma City do with this porous defense where you have a pair of point guards as your backcourt defense? They shot 19 of 32 from deep for the night. That's 59.4%. Isaiah Joe was a perfect 7 for 7. And again, that's what happens when you have a small team. You don't have shot blockers. Other teams are going to shoot it however they want. It's easy as you know what. And then you look at the other side of the coin, Klay Thompson. I guess the positive vibes are over. Let me real quick talk about Moses Moody real fast before I read you off Klay's stats, because that was it's a massive concern what is going on to the Warriors with both Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. I heard some rhetoric on the Warriors postgame show tonight about Wiggins. I heard someone say he was more determined. I heard some word that is not even real as an adjective describing Wiggins, relating to his effort, relating to his intensity. We'll break down the numbers in a second. I did not see anything that looked different from what we've been seeing all year. The Klay Thompson thing is an absolute nightmare. We'll read off his stats in just a moment. But Moses Moody did not come into the game until the second quarter after Corey Joseph came in the game. And Moody, unfortunately, didn't have a great second half. Like, he didn't put it all together for 4 quarters. But at least he was better than most. Moses Moody played 22 minutes in this game. He did shoot 5 for 11. That's awesome. That's a solid field goal percentage, damn near 50%. For a guard, you will take that. He was 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. That is 50% from deep. You absolutely will take that. Dude also grabbed 4 rebounds. He's a tough interior player. He's a tough player, period. Does Steve Kerr hate him? I know that's hyperbolic. I don't think Steve Kerr has negative emotional feelings toward Moses Moody. But there's something there that always makes Kerr hesitate and pause. There's certainly no proactivity. There's certainly no enthusiasm. You can clearly read the wall when it comes to Steve Kerr that Moses Moody is not high in his list in terms of his favorite players on this roster. And again, nothing emotionally, nothing personal there, strictly basketball minute related. Because Moses Moody should not be coming into the game after Corey Joseph. This is Moses Moody's 3rd year. Brandon Podziemski is a rookie, and Brandon Podziemski has already earned more of a benefit of the doubt from Steve Kerr than both Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. How does that make sense? Moses Moody tonight, again, did I finish off his lines? Finished the game with 12 points, -4 in the plus minus, relatively speaking, not bad. I mean, what is going on there? Like, why does the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, not be proactive in playing Moses Moody? I just don't get it. In fact, Moses Moody spoke to the press. Let's hear what he has to say. He spoke to the media after the game. He was one of the players selected. The Warriors, on average, will bring out 3 players after every game for their post-game presser. Andrew Wiggins is never one of those players, by the way. The excuse being that he's just not a media-savvy individual. He's not personable. He's not extroverted. He just doesn't like to talk, but I would like him to answer some damn questions every once in a while. I digress. Here is Moses Moody after tonight's 128-109 loss.
What's the feeling when is it kind of deflating when you still don't come out with the win, or are you guys kind of just still staying afloat?
Definitely still staying afloat, but obviously, working towards the goal for a win, and then not getting that's going to be a little bit deflating, as you said. But, when you lose a couple games in a row, I wouldn't necessarily say it's deflating as much as it is charging up. Like, we need to, we feel it now. Everybody's motivated. We need to get a win. So I think we're going to be playing like that next game.
Let's hope. Moody, I watched the entire press conference with Moses Moody. I apologize for the late start. That was part of the reason. I wanted to hear what the players and Kerr had to say. The individual asking Moody those questions tonight, I don't know who that was. Whoever that was, they were in the corner, because I saw Steve Kerr look in that direction too. They were asking fantastic questions. Kudos to that reporter. I have a suspicion as to who that is, but that doesn't sound like one of the regulars. Regardless, Moses Moody was also asked in that press conference, the soundbite is not available, about the fact that he came to the game late. His approach, his mentality to constantly staying ready. Like, why does he need to constantly stay ready? Why can't he just get minutes? Why can't he not be a consistent part of the rotation? That befuddles me. I don't get it. We're going to talk about Klay and Wiggins in just a moment. Have to talk about them. First, though, I'm going to talk about a resource that I think for Dub Nation could be invaluable for you right now, and that is Betterhelp. Look, if you're like me, a 5-game losing streak for the Golden State Warriors, look, I know this is not quote-unquote real life, right? I mean, there's much bigger problems in the world, but if you're like me, them losing puts you in bad mood. You get cranky, you get irritable. And if that starts affecting people around you, like if you have a family, you can't be, moody and emotional and upset around, a spouse, children. Maybe you need help. And tonight's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get on your way to being your best self. And the process is super simple. Okay. And all kidding aside, look, the chances are if you're seeking mental help for a mental health issue, it's something probably much more severe than the Warriors. The point is there is a resource there for you. And BetterHelp takes a lot of insurance companies. Price-wise, it's relatively speaking incredibly affordable. It's online, so you don't have to waste time and money with gas to drive to an office. You can do it right from the comfort of your home. And look, if you feel like there's a stigma related to getting mental help, blow that out of the water, okay? Life is hard sometimes. This reality is a trip. We all need help. Seek it. Go to BetterHelp. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. And today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime, the easiest resource, the easiest way, the most cost-efficient way to buy tickets. In fact, if you want to go to an event, Gametime offers a low price guarantee. That's how awesome they are. You buy your tickets from Gametime, and if you decide to go shopping after the fact, and you happen to see the same tickets in the same row and section for a cheaper price, show just that screen capture to Gametime, and they will refund the difference. That is literally a low price guarantee. That's phenomenal. Why would you want to pass that up? On top of that, you can buy your tickets last minute. So if you panicked or if you decided to be spontaneous, don't be punished for spontaneity. You should be rewarded for making last minute decisions, for capturing life and having fun while you're at it. Use Gametime. They also have an awesome view from all seats in the venue. Again, I mentioned the low price guarantee. Tickets are easy to find for every type of event in our area. Warriors are back at it Saturday. They're playing the OKC Thunder again. You heard Moses Moody. He's gearing up. Go to the game. Should be a fun time. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Woo, the chat is on fire tonight. People are unhappy. I do not blame you. Thank you for joining us, though. Despite the fact that the Warriors lost their 5th straight game, I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads at DogWild. Oh, I guess we're going to have to talk about Klay Thompson. All right. Look, Klay is struggling. There's no doubting that. When a lot of the discussion of that fight the other night that's resulted in Draymond Green starting a 5-game suspension, tonight was game 1, but Klay Thompson was involved in that as well. And Klay Thompson is not having a year at all. In fact, the Warriors during this homestand has personified his struggles. Klay Thompson during this homestand is averaging just 8.8 points per game. The Warriors are winless on this homestand, by the way. I believe, actually, don't quote me on that. But regardless, during this homestand, 8.8 points per game. He's shooting just 25.6% from the field. He's only making a quarter of his shots. His three-point shot, a smidge better, 27.3%. He's averaging 3 rebounds a game during this homestand. Only 1.8 assists per game during this homestand. I think anyone who understands basketball, anyone who is a student of this game, who's a connoisseur of especially NBA basketball, and especially if you watch the Warriors, there's no doubt in your mind that a huge part of Klay Thompson's struggles is the fact that he's not letting the game come to him. He's dribbling way more than he normally does. He's forcing a ton of shots. He is not in the zone. He is not in rhythm. He is not in flow with the pace of the game. He is literally a player who looks lost out there, forcing his way to success, which has never been his style. And when you look at the numbers tonight, tonight was particularly egregious. Klay Thompson shot 1 for 10 from the field. 1 for 10. That's like, I could do that. All right. I'm 5'10". I could go out there and do 1 for 10. I could get lucky and make 1 shot out of 10. All right. He was 0 for 4 from the field. All right. And those struggles carry over from last year, where last year he was a 40 some odd % shooter from mid range. That's not a good percentage. Okay. That's okay. And tonight, 0 for 4 from shots inside the arc. From beyond the arc, 1 for 6. He had 1 trip to the line. That's never been a part of his game. But if Klay Thompson has to adjust to a new reality where he can't really make shots anymore, you better come up with something else to make up for that. And whether that's drawing fouls, attacking the rim, I don't know what the answer is there, folks. I don't know if anyone knows what the answer is. The only thing I can suggest, and just real fast, he had 3 assists tonight, had 2 rebounds, 5 points total in 27 minutes of play. 5. Klay Thompson came into tonight's game, as he has been most of the season, the second leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors. Scored 5 points. And the question is, how long do you keep going with this? Like what's the deadline here? Like at what point does a sample size of Klay Thompson's struggles become a reality? Like everyone keeps saying these guys got to play through it, right? I hear that a lot. Okay, fine. For how long? Are you going to sacrifice the whole season? Is Christmas the deadline before we start seeing some serious changes? And, and then the follow-up question, of course, would be, okay, let's say Klay Thompson's minutes are cut. Let's say we start bringing him off the bench. Like, who do you replace him with? I mean, my argument is Moses Moody. All right, I think Moses Moody has earned certainly more minutes. He played 22 and change tonight. I don't know why he wasn't playing 30, or at least a few more and get up to 25. I certainly don't know why his minutes were almost the same as Corey Joseph. He only played 2 more minutes than Corey Joseph. I don't know why he came in after Corey Joseph. There's just a lot of nonsensical things going on with the Warriors. But Klay Thompson's struggles are bad. And the question is, what do you do about it? Right? Is his pride that big where, like, him coming off the bench is just unspeakable? Because what is he going to do? Is he going to flip out? Is he going to have a tantrum? I don't understand this. These are grown men making tens of millions of dollars. They're supposed to be professionals. And part of what comes with that territory, as any of you know, as working individuals, sometimes you have to take your lumps at work. Sometimes decisions are made by higher upper bosses that you don't like, and you have to just stomach it and swallow it and take it. Why is Klay an exception to this? I understand he's a legend. He's going to have a statue made. And side note, I take zero pleasure in criticizing Klay Thompson. None. This is not fun for me, okay? At all. I mean, in a perfect world, he's back to scoring 20-plus points a game. We're hearing questions about Rocco. Life's good. We're having ocean attributions about him talking about being a wayfaring sea captain. I mean, that's ideally what we want to talk about with Klay. But that's not reality, folks. We can either continue striving for utopia in this case or deal with the reality, which is Klay Thompson is just playing awful ball. And this is something that's carrying on all season. It's not like this is something new. And if you really want to take a step back, this started back in March of last year. Klay Thompson had an outstanding February last year. Outstanding. Had his greatest offensive month in his entire career. But since then, his numbers have declined and declined and declined. Declined in March, went down more in February, in April. So we all know about the playoffs. And now we have this. And Klay on the season, and then we'll be done talking about Klay. God, I hate that. I really hate talking about Klay Thompson like this. Klay Thompson on the year is now averaging just 14.6 points per game. He's averaging 28.6 minutes per game. We heard talk about Klay Thompson being a power forward, right? Steve Kerr mentioned before the start of the season that Klay might have to play the 4. Okay, well, if you're going to be a 4, you got to rebound. Klay Thompson's averaging 3.5 rebounds per game. And when you talk about the shooting percentages, which might be a salvation, his 3-point shooting this year is just 34.2%. By normal human standards, not bad, not great, but not bad. It's below what the league averages for guards, but it's above the Mendoza line of 33.3%. Because, as I mentioned before in the show, shooting 33.3% from 3 is the equivalent of shooting 50% from 2. So mathematically speaking, as long as you're shooting 33 or above, you're not killing the team doing that. But we've come to expect a lot more from Klay, obviously. 34.2% is not good. And from the field overall, 42.3%. This is the Klay Thompson we have now. We're 13 games into the season. We have a 5-game losing streak. The question is, at what point are decisions made, right? Yeah, Mitchell, I agree with you. Take a chance. Bench Klay for Moody. And look, and sometimes a change like that could yield positive results. I guess what I'm trying to say here is, what do you have to lose? I mean, you're a Warriors team that is floundering. You're 6-7. You got a 5-game losing streak. Klay's playing awful ball. What do you have to lose? Greg Popovich said it best. If Manu Ginobili can come off the bench, anyone can come off the bench. There's got to be some changes here. Something's got to give. God, I hate this. Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. Let's give them some love real fast here. Where's the banner for PrizePicks? Happy Thursday night, by the way. At least the weekend is just around the corner. I cannot believe that Thanksgiving is just around the corner. We will have a show that Wednesday night, by the way. I don't know if we'll have a show on Thanksgiving, but PrizePicks. Let's talk about them real fast. And look, we've talked about it a million times. It's incredibly fun. I cannot believe that PrizePicks is legal in California. For any of you who are frustrated by all the limitations that come with sports gambling in our beautiful state, great news is there's an exception to that, folks. You don't need a VPN to download PrizePicks. And it's all about individual performances. Stephen Curry, for example, did not play today, so that's a poor example. Klay Thompson the other day, his number for points, I believe, was 16.5, and you were to bet more or less than that number. Now, he got kicked out of the game about 30 seconds in, so picking the under was a golden selection. The point is, that's what PrizePicks is all about. It's a minimum of 2 players. My only critique is I wish you could pick 2 players from the same team, but you do have to pick at least 1 player from 2 different teams in your selections. So anyways, that's all you got to do. Minimum of 2 players, maximum of 6 players. If you get all 6 picks right, you get 25 times what you put in. They also really hook you up if you have these big multiplayer wagers where, let's say you bet on 6 players, you can still win if you get 4 out of 6. You just don't get the same reward. But the point is, it's not an all or nothing wager. They're flexible. The cash withdrawals are super easy. You don't have to deal with sketchy wire services to get your money back. It's literally just a tap on your phone, and you're paid for your winnings. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. One more time, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. One final segment. You can follow me on Threads again at Dog Wild. The program is on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. What's going on in the chat? I can only see what's recent because I'm solo. It's a lot harder to check these things. William Herr writes, we can't just have 4 or 5 high IQ players and the rest are average or below. That's a good point. How much rhetoric did we hear this offseason about connectivity, high basketball IQs? Yeah, that stuff is great, but you still need talent, right? I totally agree with you. East Bay Hills writes that the season's over, dead on arrival. I'm not there yet. Far from it, actually. And I'll tell you why. First of all, Gary Payton II, I have to mention this real quick. I thought of him because he is one of the bright sides of this team who should be playing more. That is one of my many gripes. Sorry to be to bitch so much on this show. That is not my intention. It's just there's a lot of things going wrong with this Warriors team. I don't know how you can stay calm and not say anything. Gary Payton II has been one of the bright sides of this team. You look at almost all the measurables in terms of 5-man individual lineups and looking at their net rating. Gary Payton II is in most of those lineups. Good things happen when he plays. There's no doubt about that. Unfortunately tonight, and it was just a heartbreaking situation, I think he got called for a foul while trying to put back a missed layup. Don't quote me on the exact situation there, but the whistle blew. He was by the rim. I think he got fouled and missed like a tip back or a put back. And then he was just playing along and jumped up and tried to put the ball back again. Play was over. Whistle was blown. Action was dead. And then he came back down and his foot landed on one of the Thunder players. I don't know if it was Chet Holmgren. I can't remember. But ankle rolled and now he's out. The good news is it's a sprained ankle. He could be out for, a few days. We also saw with Draymond Green, it could take a few weeks. Anyone who's played basketball knows how annoying sprained ankles are. That was one of my many annoyances in my young playing career, going through, high school and rec leagues and all that crap. But rolled ankles suck. We all know that. Gary Payton II has a rolled ankle. Steve Kerr said to not expect him for the next game. X-rays were negative, so that's one piece of good news. But again, Gary Payton II will be out for Saturday's rematch against OKC. Let's really hope he is fine beyond that. But my point is, going back to the comment about this season, I don't think it's dead. What I do think is stop playing Klay and Wiggins. Okay, that experiment has to end. Start playing some players on this team who can actually play, who can actually give you energy, who can actually give you size to make life easy, who can actually give you defense, which will turn into offense. Who are these players I'm talking about? Where the hell was Trayce Jackson-Davis tonight? Why does Steve Kerr why is he allergic to certain players? That's the vibe I'm getting. Like, for some reason, it's like he's got an OCD where certain players he looks at and he's like, I can't play you, with no logical reason attached to that. Trayce Jackson-Davis is one of those players. We did not see him until garbage time at the very end of the game. He played a total of 4 minutes and change, 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Why is Trayce Jackson-Davis not playing? The dude can ball. As a rookie, he can handle the rock. He can actually dribble. So, and the reason why I bring that up is for a big, that's going to result in less turnovers. That's going to result in more flexibility offensively, where he can create his own shot and create his own action and not be so reliant on the other 4 players on the team. So why are we not seeing Trayce Jackson-Davis? Lester Quinones, why are we not at least seeing him out there? Kerr has no problems playing Corey Joseph, but Lester Quinones, that's too much. We can't go there. Last year, he was perfectly fine with Anthony Lamb and Cy Jerome for 20 minutes a game on average. That's a lot of minutes he was giving those two. But he can't do the same thing for Trayce Jackson-Davis. He can't do the same thing for his 2 third-year players, Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. At least Kuminga started tonight. That was a refreshing change. But I have zero faith in Kerr continuing that. It would not surprise me if Saturday he's back on the bench, or He goes from the 26 minutes he played tonight back to 15. Real quick, I want to read this stat to you as well when it comes to Kuminga, because one thing I've noticed about the 21-year-old, who is very young, by the way, it has to be mentioned that he is the same age as Steph and as Klay were their rookie years. And so, he's a very young kid. He's really mentality-wise a rookie. But one trend that I've noticed this year with him is sometimes he has slow starts. And that could be why Kerr decided to start him. Very possible, actually. I hope Kerr was cognizant enough to recognize that, okay, if we can get Kuminga going earlier, he might have a better all-around game. Because this season, entering tonight, in the first half, he's been averaging 8.6 minutes per game, right? Second half, 11.5. So we're talking a difference of about 2 minutes between the first and second half. But in the first half of games, he shoots 29.8% from the field. Second half, 47.5. All right. He shoots at 18% better from the field in the second half. He averages less than one free throw attempt in the first half of every game this year, 0.8. Second half, 3.8 free throw attempts. What does that mean? That means he's more aggressive. He's attacking more. He's feeling more comfortable. Some players don't just start games on the fly. And especially a player of his inexperience, he's still figuring things out. He's got to get a run is what I'm trying to say. He averages 0.6 rebounds per game in the first half. Second half, he averages 2.3 rebounds per game. He averages 0.9 turnovers in the first half of games. That number drops in the second half this year to just 0.3 turnovers per game. In terms of net rating in the first half of games, he's 0.5 in the positive. In the second half of games, he's 1.9 in the positive. The point is, play him. Please continue this, but also give him some damn minutes. Let's see what 25, 30 minutes a night of Kuminga gives us. And if at that point, all we get is mediocrity, all we get is an average output from Kuminga, then so be it. We tried, But I believe in the kid. You just have to give him a chance. There is zero confidence building in the young players on this team if your name is not Brandon Pajemski. And so I guess my point is I still have hope on this team because I look at Kuminga. I look at Moses Moody. I look at Gary Payton II, who I think should be getting 25 plus minutes per night. And it drives me insane that Gary Payton II, by the way, like, why can Steve Kerr not make adjustments on the fly? Why does it have to be a prepared rotation where he knows who's going to be coming in and out, scripted the entire game? Okay? Sometimes things happen and you have to get off script. And the reason why I bring that up with Gary Payton II is every night that the Warriors play a game, tonight, for example, against the OKC Thunder, the other team is almost always going to have one player who is their primary scorer, who is their go-to guy, who is lethal in most cases, given how deep and talented the NBA is. Why is Gary Payton II not guarding that individual? If you're a really old school sports fan like me, who remembers, for example, the 90s San Francisco 49ers, when they had Deion Sanders for that half season and they won a Super Bowl, Deion covered the best wide receiver all the time because he was a lockdown corner and he knew how to take care of the job. Why does Gary Payton II not have a similar role? When Greg Popovich with Bruce Bowen would always put Bowen on the other team's most lethal offensive player and made life hell for them. Why can't Kerr do the same thing with Gary Payton II? My point is, in all this, is I still have hope for this team. I think there is talent on this team. We haven't even seen Usman Garuba yet. Brandon Pajemski had another fantastic night. I got to wrap it up here, but Pajemski just even though his plus minus was awful, he played 25 minutes, was 4 for 7 from the field, was 3 for 4 from deep, 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. Why have we not been seeing him sooner? My point is, have some hope, folks. And Draham, if you want to discuss trading Wiggins, I'm not opposed to that. But the problem is, who wants him, right? Thanks, everyone, for joining me. This is rough. I'm with you. Misery loves company. We'll be back at this soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.